What is happening, YouTube? Efficient in the field, having another town day. I'm going to try to be efficient with my time, though. My wife is at another doctor's appointment-ish kind of deal. And I want to get after the 12-volt setups in a lot of these formats I was talking about for off-grid living. We're basically going to continue on with that whole thing. And does it have to be 12 volt? No, it could be 24 volt as well. But we need to talk about some of the specifics because it's much different than living in an apartment or living in a house. It's one of the big hurdles that you kind of have to jump when moving to an off-grid life is like, how do you get your electricity off-grid? You know what I'm saying, dudes? And as a refresher for everybody, there were 4 formats I spoke about. And as a matter of fact, I feel that the term platform is probably more appropriate. So we're talking about truck campers, travel trailers, sailboats, and van life. All right. And in my previous videos, I talked about how easy it is to jump into one of these, get off grid, and start test running it, as opposed to like selling your home and buying some undeveloped piece of property and improving it for 5 years and dumping all your cash into it to find out that that lifestyle isn't for you. My recommendation would be to jump into one of these platforms here and test run this thing for a year. Make a year commitment. Go do it. If it's for you, it is. If it's not, you can go back into the rat race whenever you want. All right, dudes? So let's get after power. And what we're going to do is we're going to use truck campers in our example today. I should qualify myself in case you haven't seen the previous videos. I was looking at it the other day, guys, and it looks like I have more like 9 years of off-grid living experience in these exact 4 platforms. I've done them all: truck campers, travel trailers, sailboats, and van life. And we're not talking for like 2 weeks. I've done each of those for at minimum 18 months. Van life minimum was 18 months. Okay, it might have been longer. It's probably closer to 2 years. But truck campers specifically, I have lived in truck campers for over 1,000 days. I'm not talking about owning them for over 1,000 days. I'm talking about living in them for over 1,000 days. I had 2 separate truck campers as well, and rocked a number of different systems, I guess you could call it, when it comes to energy. 12 volt power, solar, generators, even shore power, right? Hooking up to a family member's house if I was parked outside of it for a little bit. Even little portable power setups like the Yeti 150, which these days it's a Jackery. All right. So let's talk about it. And the first thing we want to do is we want to kind of understand how you're going to be rocking a truck camper, let's say. Let's say you're selling all the shit in your apartment. It's time to renew your lease if you're going to, and you're like, nah, I'm going to go rock it efficient in the field style and go live in a truck camper for a year. You already bought yourself a 3/4 ton pickup truck. It has the hookups for a truck camper because you need that. And you go look at your first truck camper and you're thinking to yourself, I can't do this. It's too small. Well, then you obviously need to change platforms, right, guys? You need to go to either like a travel trailer or maybe a large sailboat. Those would be better options. Or fifth wheel. I consider those to be in the travel trailer category. But if you check out that truck camper and you're like, yeah, I can rock this, boom, that's where you should be. All right, so let's say you get your truck camper. You're working 5 days a week in town. So you're driving into this small town you live in to go to work in the morning. Let's say it's a 20-minute drive. And then you work, and when you're done, well, you go out there for lunch, you make your own sandwich, you save some money. When the day's over, you drive the 20 minutes back out to some little camp spots you got on the outskirts of town, and you spend the night. All right? So most truck campers are going to have a 12 volt setup. I don't even know if they make any with a 24 volt. And here's the difference really, dudes. If you think of 12 volt as a garden hose with 60 psi of water coming out of it, 24 volt, if it's the same size garden hose, and what determines that is the size of the wiring in the truck camper. Okay? But let's say it's the same size wiring 24 volt is going to be 120 psi. That's basically what it's doing. It's increasing the pressure that is pushing that power around the inside of that truck camper. Small setups like a truck camper, I don't even see why they'd go to 24 volt. Usually those are reserved for like larger travel trailers, larger fifth wheels, larger Class A motorhomes, and larger sailboats. Okay, the smaller varieties and even the medium-sized varieties are usually going to be 12 volts. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Also, I should say I don't have any experience with 24 volt personally. I've done plenty of work on 12 volt, and I like to keep it that way because that's what's under the hood of a car. It's the same as working with electrical in a vehicle. So here's how this works. In a truck camper, you're going to have a house bank. A house bank. It's usually going to be one deep cycle battery, and it should be a deep cycle. If you get a truck camper that doesn't have a deep cycle in there, let's say someone just threw some, used O'Reilly's battery out of an old vehicle in it, that will get you by initially, but in the long run, you're definitely going to want to upgrade to true deep cycle batteries. Now, these could be lead acid. They could be AGMs. I've used both of those. Really, really awesome. But these days, they could also be a lithium iron phosphate battery, which is extremely light and can be charged down like 3,000 times, dudes. I think that is personally the way to go these days. Lightweight, right? So now you don't have 120 pounds worth of batteries in the back of your truck camper. You've got 40 pounds of batteries. I would consider increasing your house bank to 2 batteries, really. Dudes, I've rocked 1. 2's always going to be better. And for those of you that don't know this, you never add a new battery and hook it up to an older battery. You need to replace both of them and go straight to 2 new batteries, all right? So in this aforementioned scenario, what's going to happen is your truck camper should actually be charging that battery while you're driving around. The alternator under the hood, the one that's charging your vehicle battery, should be charging your house bank at the same time if it's set up right. If it's not charging it, you've got an issue there, or it's not set up to do so, or your truck camper plug in your truck bed is not wired correctly. It's going to be one of those things, and you're going to want to look at that. But what should happen is you should get 20 minutes of charge driving to work, and you should get 20 minutes of charge driving home. That's not a lot of time charging a battery, dudes. And if you want to be like charging a laptop up in your truck camper at night, or watching some movies on that, and charging a cell phone in there, it's not going to get it done for you. Okay, it's just not. You're going to need a more regular charge. I got a big ass moth on my dash in here. It's like all my damn vehicles are filled with bugs, man. I'm finally getting a break from flies. And there's a big ass moth. I'm sure there's some grasshoppers in here as well. So let's take a different scenario. Let's say that you came into some money and you want to go travel the States for 2 years. And that's why you bought your truck camper, and you're going to drive it around, and you're going to move every 3 to 4 days, and you're going to be driving 4 to 5 hours every time you move this truck camper. That is going to put a much better charge on your batteries. So you might actually be able to sit in one spot for 3 days and not have to worry about charging up your batteries, depending on how much power you're using. Right, dudes? Because that's the big difference, is when you're off grid like this, and batteries, some kind of system that uses batteries is the way to go. What you don't want to be doing is having to run a generator every single time you want to charge anything in your truck camper. It's a pain in the ass. You got to take it out of the truck camper. You got to, or the back seat of your pickup truck or whatever it's going to be. You got to go set it up, run the freaking plug into it, crank it up. It also means you got to carry gas, which can outgas in your truck camper. Now your truck camper smells like freaking gas because you got a shitty gas can and all that kind of stuff. Not the ideal way to rock it. You really want to either be able to charge your house bank off of your alternator, or you want to go solar. Let's talk a little bit more about generators real quick before I get into solar, dudes, because I do feel like having a generator with you, especially if you're out in the boonies, and even if you have solar, is pretty smart. And that's my personal experience, dudes. In the more than 1,000 days that I spent in truck campers, I spent it all over the damn place. Usually out in the boonies. Okay, usually out in the boonies, but I did plenty of ninja camping as well. I'm going to do a whole video on that, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss it. There's a lot of tips and tricks that are going to keep the cops from knocking on your door. If you're way out in the boonies, though, dudes, even if you're rocking a solar setup, there's going to be times when it's not sufficient to put a charge to your house bank. Okay? Let's say cloudy days. Let's say it's hotter than shit outside and you parked your truck camper like in the shade. Your solar panels on the roof just are not going to be getting the job done really good. Okay? And this might be one of those places where you want to run a generator. If you're one of those people that is attached to your AC unit, you're going to have a generator with you. I'm just going to tell you straight up that on a truck camper, you don't have enough roof to put enough solar panels, and you're not going to have a big enough inverter unless you seriously upgrade your shit, and you're just not going to be able to run an AC unit off of solar. It's not going to happen. And the AC unit takes up space on the roof as well. And it reduces your gas mileage because that thing is dragging air going down the road. Holy shit. That's a lot of dogs. That used to be me, man. I used to have 5 dogs in the back of my pickup truck. I'm honestly going to tell you, ditch the AC unit. That's my personal preference. The second truck camper I bought had an AC unit on it. I took that shit off and I gave it to my father-in-law. All right, dudes. It's just not worth the hassle, man. Like, you have to give and take to live an off-grid life like this. You're going to lose some conveniences that make life more comfortable. So you're going to lose those. But in exchange, you're getting all these amazing experiences, and you're getting to literally spend weeks at a time out in places where you can walk out your front door and fish and cook your breakfast on the fire. Okay? It's a give and take, dudes. It's a give and take. If you're really stuck on it, though, man, you're going to have to be rocking a generator, and you're going to have one big enough to start that damn thing up and keep it running. Another note about generators is that truck campers and most of these platforms that we're talking about here, the shore power plug, right? It's the plug that comes out the side of the rig that you can hook into a generator or hook into the power on the side of your brother's house, whatever it is. A lot of these rigs are going to have a battery charger in them. So when you hook them up to power, it's going to go ahead and charge up your house bank for you. So in the first scenario that I gave you, you're driving into town 20 minutes to go to work, and then you're driving back out 20 minutes. If you're one of the people that has found a side yard that you were able to rent from somebody for $100 a month, maybe $200 a month, and they allow you to hook up to power, now you're in a great situation where you don't necessarily need solar unless you're going to go spend an extended period of time out in the boonies somewhere. After work, you drive over, you back that baby up on the side yard, hook it into the extension cord that's running to the side of the house, and bam, you're off and running. It's going to charge your batteries up, and it's also going to allow you to just plug a laptop in any of the outlets in the truck camper itself to get them charged up. Let's talk about solar real fast, dudes. I honestly would recommend getting into solar as soon as it's something that you can afford. You're going to find out that the biggest limitations when it comes to rocking one of these platforms is going to be just that you don't have unlimited power. That's really going to be one of the biggest ones. Water can be an issue for people that excessively use clean water. And then also the head system, like waste management, is going to be another big issue for a lot of people. Refrigeration is usually not all that hard. It's something I'll get into in a future video. But solar is going to give you more options. It's going to make it easier to get out there more. Don't have to worry about your power setup so much. And what we're looking at in a truck camper, generally speaking, is you're going to have the roof space to do 300, 400 watts, probably maximum, unless you're willing to go with some even smaller panels and hook them into the bigger one. I will tell you guys that in my personal experience, I was rocking anywhere from 200 watts to I think 320 watts on my truck campers. Okay, and I like the Victron Energy MPPT charge controllers. You want an MPPT charge controller. That's what you want. They are extremely efficient when it comes to charging up the batteries and taking care of them. And they're a little more expensive than the cheapo ones. But dudes, I literally had a cheapo charge controller almost set my first truck camper on fire. Seriously. It was my first off-grid platform that I was rocking, the very first one. And, you know, just total piece of shit. So the Victron Energy ones are awesome. I've owned probably a half dozen of them at this point in time. Ones that will do anywhere from 400 to 800 watts. It might have been 1,000 watts. But you get the idea. It's a great way to go. They're small. They don't take up a lot of space. They're super easy to wire up. Just totally worth the money, guys. One thing you are going to want to do before you get into a solar system is you're going to want to calculate out your usage. That's what you're going to want to do. And you're going to want to estimate high. All right, dudes? So you have to think about the draw that you're producing. Like, how many hours a night are you running the lights in your truck camper? How much is your propane fridge drawing? I'm going to tell everybody here that I recommend that you rock a fridge that's running on propane, but there still is a little bit of draw on your batteries. Okay? So you're going to want to find out how much draw that is. How many amps per hour is it? You need to calculate that into your solar needs. How long do you have your laptop plugged in every night? You can basically take your laptop charging cord and look at it, and it's going to tell you like 150 watts, 2.3 amps. So, and I'm just making those numbers up right now, but 2.3 amps would be how many amps per hour that it's going to be pulling. If you have a high-speed laptop, like a video editing laptop, they're going to suck a whole bunch more juice than like some little tiny notebook. Just things to keep in mind. Tablets don't pull a lot as well. It's a great option if you want to be able to watch movies from a hotspot or something like that. And I guess they even have like little MacBooks that can be connected to the internet and all this kind of high-speed shit these days. I'm not totally up to date on all that stuff. But basically, dudes, look at your power needs and round that shit up. So if you're like, all right, I'm going to do 3 hours a night on my laptop, round it up to 5. Where you want to find yourself is in a situation where you're never going to kill your batteries. That's where you want to find yourself. You want to go bigger. And the other thing is, like, you know, you meet some chick, you're out on the road, you invite her over, she wants to plug her freaking shit in or whatever, charge her cell phone. It's like, now you're good. You know, you're covered there. Or if you started this adventure on your own and all of a sudden you have another person with you, let's say this same chick, she moves into the freaking truck camper and you all are rocking it together. It's like, boom, you're good. You took care of that need in the future, like way in advance. Okay, dude? So always overestimate your power usage, round that shit up, and go with a bigger solar setup. LED lights are a must, pimps. You need to go through every fixture in your truck camper and convert them all over to LEDs. I personally prefer like the warm tone ones, not the bright white ones. I think the warm tones are more natural and more chill, more relaxing. And then I want you to think about this, guys. I know it's loud as shit out here. I hope you guys can hear me. It's not too annoying. I want you guys to think about this. You're not living in the city anymore and you're not on the grid. You do not need to have every single damn light in your truck camper turned on. You don't. If you're chilling around the settee, bam, you have the light on over the settee. If you have some friends over and they're chilling at the settee while you're cooking, you have a light on the settee, you have a light on in the kitchen or in the hood that's over the stove. You know what I'm saying, dudes? Now, if you listen to me and you have a solar setup now and you upsized it Now when you got company over, you can have the frickin' porch light on while you're chilling outside, and a light on inside the truck camper, so you don't have to fumble around for one in the dark when you go inside. You can rock some additional lights. It's just going to make it easier, dudes. Let me hit a couple more things before I kill this video. One of them is that before you purchase a truck camper, you want to get your eyes on that house bank and make sure you have room for 2 batteries, dudes. You really do. You can move them if you need to. Let's say you buy a truck camper that only has a space for 1 house battery. You can always rewire it and put the 2 batteries inside, like under a settee bench or something like that. It's just a little bit more of a pain in the ass. And it's going to be a little bit more costly because now you got to buy some additional high, well, it's actually low gauge wiring. It's the really thick stuff. It can be done. Just, better to do it right the first time and make sure you have space for 2 batteries. And then the last thing that I kind of didn't really get into when it comes to generators is that your generator, and maybe I mentioned it, but let's hit it again just in case. If you're out in the boonies, you had all these cloudy days and all that kinds of shit, you can hook your truck camper up to your generator, run it. It's going to charge up your house bank with the battery charger in the rig. All right, dudes, I'm done. I'm going to let y'all go. Like it, share it, subscribe to the channel because there's going to be a whole bunch more information like this coming. Check out my Patreon link in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next video.